temporary permit, and that temporary permit will be yours to determine whether or not there's an overriding public interest that ought to have that permit issued. I respond to any questions.
The building inspector.
Yes, sir.
He gave his blessing.
He did. He did. As a temporary structure with these specific criteria dealing with lighting and appropriate ingress and egress fire extinguishing systems.
I think the problem, Bill, I don't mean to be, but it's on page 35 and we can't quite read part of the
Yes, it's all,
information on it.
yeah, it's too faint.
Oh, it's too faint to read?
I'm sorry. I meant to call earlier, but I was filling out. I was one of those.
So let me reiterate verbally what it says there. They went out, did an inspection report, said, hey, you got to get through planning to let this thing go. It's not okay without some kind of planning authorization. That's the first bullet. The next bullet is, if you do this, you got to have appropriate ingress, egress, and there's got to be lighting, especially in that center area of the structure, where their actors are going to be located for the use of the facility. So that's what the building official has determined, is that it's permissible if it's temporary, not a permanent structure, and you grant a permit to allow that to occur.
That's what I understood during the presentation. I just, it's not that I believe you, but I couldn't quite read it.
That's what's there.
All right. More questions? Bill?
Given a letter from the city to the applicant on page 30.
Yes, sir.
So what happens if we don't do this?
Just so you know, the reason that we did the compliance date to be after Halloween was to permit the applicant to be able to go ahead at his own risk and make this thing ready so he could actually use it, assuming you guys might say yes. If you say no, we will abate the use of the structure as well as the structure. So we'll have to go forward and post it that it cannot be occupied, and then he'll have to get that removed. Now, we won't change the compliance date for removal, but he won't get to use it.
Is there any liability with it not being signed off by the city inspector?
City inspector will do a final walkthrough
Okay.
before. As soon as you guys say go temporary,
He'll give his blessing on use.
we'll take care of the building side of it.
Okay.
Right.
That's all I have.
More questions?
Bill, to your knowledge, has there ever been any activity in a neighborhood of this nature prior to?
Oh, yes. In fact, at this location, there was a garage, similar kind of hunting thing a year ago. There are a couple of different places here in town where folks do the Halloween thing. I've not seen a structure added before, but I have seen a number of different locations in the community where they provide usually a walkthrough in their garage that gives people some kind of experience around a haunting.
And I see that, in a sense, but I meant as far as coming before the commission to get a temporary structure for
No,
something in a neighborhood.
no,
I've
not to my knowledge.
I just didn't recall anything, and so.
Greg, you've done this longer than that. Has there been anything like this?
No. Did that
Not that it makes any difference.
Yeah. How did it end up coming before the city, actually?
How did it come before us? They submitted for a building permit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So they're proactive.
Actually, we also saw it. How did that happen, Marie?
Got a phone call about it, so we did a building inspection, myself and the building inspector.
Right. So we had a phone call from the neighborhood saying,
It's
check
a
this going
neighbor.
on in our neighborhood. Somebody's building something. What's going on? And the building inspector and our planning technician went to the site and said, "Whoops! Look at this. There's something building."
Okay. That's kind of what I meant.
From which the applicant then submitted the plans. Is that right? Do I have that order correct now?
All right. Okay. Any questions of Bill? All right. So let's go ahead and it's time for the applicant to go through their presentation. Yeah, let's start forward. just state your name and address and then go for it.
My name is Troy Krugelone, and I live at 23315 Northeast Village Court in Wood Village. And to my knowledge, I did not know that there was a call put onto the property. I was under the impression that somebody had drove by, that just you guys driving by and seeing it. So, but I want to thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you to our supporters and our neighbors. We thank the commission for allowing us for this opportunity to present our Halloween haunt for the community of Wood Village and the surrounding area. Our haunted motel is completely temporary and only meant as a Halloween decoration with a safe walk-through portion for kids and adults on and around Halloween. We are asking for your permission to continue to build and to open for the community on the 25th, 31st, and the 1st. Firstly, I would like to talk about the structure of our haunt. We have fire extinguishers. I have trained volunteers in it through a OSHA-approved video and also self-teaching to them. We have 2 smoke detectors in the unit. We have 2 main exits out the front, and we have a emergency exit on the side, which is not on the picture, but it's on the back side over there, and it is actually lit by a code emergency light that is hooked up to that will actually also have a battery backup in case of a power failure. The structure is completely covered, so there will be no issues of any slipping. Yes, it is on a slight slope, as a driveway normally is, but I have spent many nights and days trying to figure out how to get the roof to not be pitched so it's not high, so we don't have an issue with people, having a height issue and that look bad, and also to keep it dry inside for patrons and my actors and volunteers. We only use LED lights and anything that is 25 watts or less, and it is all wired correctly using UL wiring and stuff. And we actually have flame retardant curtain material in there as well, provided by Stagecraft Industries. The group that has worked to put this haunt together, we have collectively taken many safety classes at an actual convention that is put on here every year in Portland. And we have even given classes on Halloween and haunt safety, actor safety, all that stuff. We believe by letting us continue to build and allow the public to enter will benefit the community by bringing the neighbors together. As of this point, we have several neighborhood families who stop to talk to us about our haunt almost every day. I had somebody actually before I was leaving here mention, because we had our sign up. I put the sign up last night in the light, and they really liked it. Pretty much, I'm out there every night, and people drive by every single night and give me thumbs up. They smile. They say, "How's it going? It's looking great." Once I put up the siding and covered up the pallets, it looked much better. They enjoyed that part, so I did that as quickly as I could for the neighbors on purpose. They've asked us what the story is, what the history of it, how long we've been doing it, which we've actually been doing it for 8 years. Before this, we were located in Southeast Portland. One of our neighbors across the street is actually allowing their 8-year-old son to help us inside the haunt to guide kids who are scared to go through with him as a kid tour guide. And the neighbor kids have a lot of fun waking up each morning and seeing what else I've put out there and what else has come up, whether sort of scary thing that I've put out. I actually designed the outside to appear nice looking, as the motel with the scary stuff is all inside, partially for the story of our haunt, and also for the neighbors, so they didn't have to look at something with blood dripping down the windows and headless people and all kinds of stuff. So I did not want to go grotesque. I did not want to go gory or anything like that on purpose for the neighbors. And also I have 2 kids of my own and my wife. The other one of our other main points is that it is free. And I don't know if any of you have ever been to a haunted house, a professional haunted house in Portland in the last 5-10 years, but they have gone up significantly in price. There is one in Gresham, and it's like $25 or $30 to go through, and you wait in line for 2 hours, and you walk through for 10 minutes, and you're out. And ours is free, and I have always made it free. I've never asked for a dime from anybody, and I wanted to keep it that way because then people don't feel like they have to. You know, it's exactly that. It's just fun and free for the kids and the adults. We get a lot of adults that come through and love it. We actually are using the City of Wood Village in our backstory. The Hollow Woods Motel actually uses part of our name and Wood Village, and actually uses the Errata House across the street as part of our backstory for the history of that used to be a motel way back in the day. And so we added that part to it so that it incorporated the city and made the story more plausible to anyone who would care to listen to it. We also registered with the Oregon Food Bank, and we will be setting out a food box, or hopefully several food boxes that we can fill up over the 3 nights and deliver to them shortly after the haunt is closed. And like I said, we've been doing this for 8 years, and we've never had an accident, minus a few cuts and scrapes, which I currently have. But we have not had any actor or patron safety issues. Our old haunt used to be outside completely, and we still didn't have any slippage. We always made sure that our patrons were walking on the concrete, which this one also, if you notice on where the 2 doors are on the front, the black and the red one, they are completely on the concrete. The patrons will never be not on concrete. They will not be stepping on grass. We will have LED lighting along the edges if there are any dark spots, so that people will know exactly where to walk. And we also will have a volunteer that will not be active and will be walking around, probably holding a video camera for some of it, but also be walking around making sure everybody's being safe, making sure that our actors have water or needs as we go along. I have made sure up until this point, and will continue to, that we abide by any of the noise laws in the city, as well as my own noise laws to myself and my kids. That we will not be doing any building of any sort after 10 p.m. on weekends, or even earlier than that. I don't want to be out there at 10 o'clock at night, sawing the other pieces of wood. So that stuff mostly happens during the day on the weekends, and on the weekdays we will be done by 9 p.m. doing any kind of building or anything, which we're pretty much done. But the haunt will close at 10 p.m. and there will be no people making any kind of noises after 10 p.m. for the neighbors. As you can tell, we're pretty close to the neighbors. And I have my own children that need to sleep. And to what I said at the beginning, we to our knowledge and not to us, we have not had any neighbor complaints at the site or the noise. We've never had a neighbor come out and ask us to be quiet, or give us any negative feedback at all. As several of my crew have put in many long hours of work and creative energy into creating something. We actually started creating this idea back in January of what we wanted to do, we wanted to create something fun, original, and scary for the community to enjoy. One other point that I have is that probably about 90% of the items in the haunt are either have been recycled or will be recycled. The pallets will be taken back to my work and then recycled. The material will either be kept or will be recycled as well. We bought a lot of stuff from not somebody's cell phone.
Feedback.
I don't know who fix that.
We actually bought a lot of stuff from, we actually we got a bunch of stuff from Craigslist so that they didn't have to put it in the landfill. We got stuff from the Habitat for Humanity Restore, and then our own items that we brought out from our house and put in there. There will be very, very little garbage created from it. And that's something we've always kind of prided ourselves on, is that we always use recycled materials or use it again next year or recycle it for somebody else to use. We also handed out our petition that we did online, and we had 150 local and national and a few Canadian signatures on to help convince you to help us permit this. And the messages they wrote on there were very humbling and also supportive. Even residents of Wood Village, Fairview, Troutdale, and Gresham have all signed it. Everyone that has come here today to support me has put in some amount of time, advice, help, sweat, and money into our creation, and I hope that you will grant us this temporary permit and allow us to serve the community with this fun, free, and safe haunted motel. Of course, if you approve us, we are all invited along with your families and friends and kids to tour our haunt. I will even grant private tours. So I please, grant this permission not just for Scare Hollow, but for the residents of Wood Village and for all its residents. Thank you for your time.
I guess it's probably best to go through it and go through the proponents before we have any questions first. I don't think that we have any. We'll see. I'm sure you can go through that from there. So, any proponents who want to come forward and say something? All those in favor of that? All right. You said pretty much which one you're going. All right. So, all those people that are against the proposal? Well, I guess we don't have any rebuttal. So now, I guess the question is, what kind of questions do we have? Not good on mine.
These are, behind you are most of your neighbors, is that?
No,
some of your neighbors?
actually, everybody who's back here is people who have actually put time and effort into this. To my knowledge, and obviously, as proven, there are no neighbors that are to either come support or not support. So I guess it would be good. Yeah.
And we haven't received any correspondence or telephone contacts. We actually got 2 different neighbors who called us about the hearing, but did not express an opinion, either positive or negative. And so we anticipated that there would be some feedback from the neighborhood present this evening. Absence.
I'm guessing the reaffirmation of temporary power.
Yes, and they also know that as soon as it comes down
Right.
the Thanksgiving weekend, I put up hundreds of Christmas lights, so it changes quickly.
Any other questions? All right. So this time we'll close the public portion of the hearing, and any discussion on our end. I mean, I don't have a problem with them. As long as the city inspector went through, I feel good. So if we don't have any other discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I would motion to approve a temporary permit to Scare Hollow Productions with the overriding public interest in effect.
All right, we have a motion from Ms. Do I have a second?
I'll second
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. You good?
Thank you.